right. Hey, guys. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Got some fun stuff to talk about today. I'm glad to be back. Haven't done one. Been a while. I had to take a little break, but thanks for joining me. Don't forget, you can comment. I'll respond to all the comments. Um, and if you guys want to like, subscribe so that you get alerted when I go live. And for new videos I post and stuff, I posted a video yesterday that was AI remake, or it was like an AI version of somebody took South Park and did remade it with AI, and it's pretty hilarious. So it was I've got that clip. I think I'm going to play it for us a little later on. Is about this um liberal lady, who got shot in Minnesota trying to run over the ICE agent. So that's going to be the main thing we talk about today, or we're going to start off talking about that. I got some videos here we're going to watch. I found as many different angles and stuff as I could, and just kind of so we can get some context about what was going on there. And I was watching Piers Morgan yesterday, and he had a panel on like he always does. A couple dumbasses on there, a couple people who are reasonable, and the one of the guys. I mean, it just blows my mind how people can be divided over this issue. So you obviously had the one side that was saying, this is the ICE officer's fault. He shouldn't have been standing in front of the car. He should have gotten out of the way. They shouldn't have been threatening this lady. They this. She's not responsible. It wasn't her fault. Then you got the other side that says, well, what's she doing? Impeding law officers, impeding law enforcement. And so it just kind of falls along party lines. And once again, the Democrats show their colors, show that they are the ones who are not in favor of law. They're not in favor of order. They're not in favor of following the laws. They are privileged. They think that they're above the law. They're entitled. They don't think the law applies to them. They live in such a bubble that they don't realize that what they're doing is extremely dangerous, because they think that they're just acting. They're acting like this is some kind of play, like it's some kind of game, like impeding law enforcement there's no danger to it. I don't know how they get so far off. I don't know. It's just because they've lived their whole life in privilege with no consequences, and then they don't even think that there's going to be consequences for the stupid shit that they do. And when consequences do happen, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what the hell happened? How is there consequences for what I'm doing? I'm not supposed to be held responsible for anything. I'm supposed to do whatever I want to do." Right? I think this is really how these people think. They're so detached from the reality that us normal people live in. Like, for example, how many of you would even consider driving your car into a law enforcement officer? How would that ever even come into your brain to do? No, because you're a normal person. You're not one of these psychopathic ideologues who think they're saving the world by standing up to ICE agents. You know, normal people can see this for exactly what it is. Well, hey, fuck around with police officers, bad shit's going to happen. Don't do it. Obey a lawful order. Obey when they tell you to stop. Obey when they tell you to open your door. Obey. That's how this works. It's not that complicated. You'd think that this is like calculus. These people are trying to solve equations, the mysteries of the universe. A law officer told me to get out of my, I shouldn't have to do that. That's evil. Right? And they think they can taunt and they can block and they can do whatever they want to without any repercussions. And it's a sad thing that somebody lost their life in this situation. And nobody wants to see that. Well, normal people don't want to see that. I have the suspicion that there's quite a few people on the left who actually are quietly celebrating that somebody somebody got killed in such a public way, so that they can just really ramp up. This is the George Floyd moment. This is our martyr. We finally got a martyr for the cause. You got a dumbass martyr. one that no one is going to agree with, but they're going to try to force this woman to be the martyr. And oh, look at how good we are, and look at how we're willing to sacrifice. And over the weekend, I heard somebody say that they're calling for somebody needs to give their life. There has to be more martyrs for the cause, because that'll really rally the troops, that'll really get their message across. And that's what they want this woman to be, which is disgusting. But like Obama said, never let a crisis go to waste. So they're trying to use this to galvanize their resistance to ICE, to bring in some people from the sidelines who are really bleeding hearts, and this makes them feel sad, and so they want to join the cause and stop these meanie thug Gestapo, law enforcement officers. But it's not going to work, because we're not idiots. You can see plainly that she's being belligerent. She's being non-compliant. She tries to run into a police officer. She does actually run into a police officer, and then he shoots her. I heard that this officer, a couple months ago, was the same one that got drugged like 300 feet by that other car. And so, this is dangerous stuff. There's actual danger here. And you got these two lesbians who don't seem to be able to comprehend that this is a dangerous situation. They think it's funny. They think they're being real tough, and they're standing up, and they can mock the cops, and they can run into the cops, and then the ICE agents shouldn't even be able to do anything. They should just have to take it. How much more entitled could you get than these white liberal ladies? This is the definition of white privilege that they keep claiming they need to feel guilty about. They think there's no consequences for them because they're white women and they're lesbians. So what kinds of consequences have these ladies ever had to deal with? None. They've always been told, oh, you're the oppressed one. Oh, you, dear, you need to get yours, and the society's keeping you down, and don't you worry. You need to really fight for what you believe in and stand up against the system and all that, because everything's going against you, and blah, 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 blah. Stupid shit like that. So then they get this power. They get their brain gets full of all this power and this, I'm never going to have consequences for my actions bullshit. And normal people can see this for what it is. No normal people treat agents, police officers, the law enforcement. No one talks to law enforcement like this in the real world. No one goes up and shoves their camera in their face and starts making fun of them and calling them fat. No normal person blocks the road so that the agents can't get through. And she was sitting there for a long time. It's not like this was a brief moment. Most of these videos that you see are maybe like a couple seconds long of just the agents interact with her. But really, she was sitting there for many, many minutes, honking her horn, blocking the traffic, letting other traffic through, but then driving back into the road to block the ICE agents. So she's deliberately obstructing justice. And, and that wouldn't even be so bad. But then she was so stupid that she literally drove into an ICE agent, drove her car into an ICE agent. And I heard this dumbass on Piers Morgan talking about this, and he was like, oh, she was going like 2 miles an hour. Well, I don't know. I mean, getting hit by a 4,500-pound vehicle going 2 miles an hour seems like it still might be dangerous. That 4,500-pound vehicle at 2 miles an hour could just drive over your dead body. This is not like just because it's going 2 miles an hour doesn't mean it's dangerous. And she was actually accelerating at a very high rate. So maybe she only had reached 2 miles an hour by then, but the force that hit him knocked him back. This isn't like a game. I mean, have you ever just had anybody drive and just bump you with their car? It hits you hard. I've had that happen. It is a solid, massive object, and when it's moving, even a slow rate of speed, it still comes with tons of force that hits you. And these guys that just pass that off. It's like, oh well, I mean, it's okay to run into police officers as long as you're going 2 miles an hour. What's the big deal? Huh? What? Why is this a big deal? Why does it matter if you're only going 2 miles an hour? It says this crazy shit that these people think. The craziest shit that you could come up with. And it's all just they're stuck now. They're stuck in this tiny little box that they've put themselves in, to where now they have to try to spin the narrative so hard that they're justifying people running into law enforcement. This is how far off the rails and far off into Looney Tunesville that these people have gotten. Now, nobody wants the people to get shot. But you fuck around and you find out. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's what this woman's doing. Because she thinks she can get away with it. Because she's probably done this before. She's probably one of these professional agitators who goes to all this stuff, and, oh gosh, we got to stand up. We probably has a Palestinian flag hanging in her back window. She probably has, all that kind of bullshit. Because this is these people's identity. This is what this is their religious community. This is their mythology. It's their religious practice. It's their crusade. It's for these people, because they really have empty lives and of no meaning and purpose. This is how they find it. By being foot soldiers in the leftists' ridiculous war. So let's get into watching some of these videos, and we'll see what we think. All right, here's the first one. This one's really long. It's 4 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it is after the crash and everything. So let's just take a look here. Yeah, so that one's a little hard to tell, when he got hit. So anyway, first of all, I'm guessing that you normal people out there wouldn't be parked in the middle of the street like this with all these vehicles waiting on you, like a total asshole. What kind of an asshole does this to everybody? Inconveniencing everybody on the street. Inconveniencing the whole neighborhood, causing a ruckus, patting yourself on the back the whole time, acting like you're the hero. So when would you have ever even consider doing something like this, sitting in the middle of the street blocking everybody? Probably never, because you're not a retard. And then, if by some crazy chance you were, and 4 police officers came over to you and said, "Get out of the vehicle," you would just not obey. You'd just say, "Don't care what you say." No, you would get out of the vehicle because you're a normal human being. And then this is so easy. So she got her door locked. She refuses to open it. She tries backing up. She could have ran over this guy's foot. No! She could have She's moving around her vehicle around people like it's no big deal. She says no. She backs up just enough to get around, I don't know, this vehicle or something. Now she's just going to take off. And she actually hits him. You see his feet slide back. This is her girlfriend here.
Shame! Oh my fucking...
So we got 4 agents. And this retard thinks she's just going to drive off like it's no big deal. She's just going to, sorry, I just blocked the whole street for like 15 minutes and I inconvenienced everybody and I disobeyed the orders and I didn't listen and I think I'm so entitled. I don't have to actually live by the rules of the law. And then I'm just going to leave. Yeah, I think I'm ready to just leave now, so I'm going to go. I think she was probably intentionally trying to hit that guy. She could have turned her wheels farther and missed him altogether. The only reason she had him turned is because she didn't want to go into this lawn over here. I think she was trying to hit him. And it's ridiculous. So let's look at it from a little different angle. Let's see, I've got some that are slowed down. So let's see here. You can see the impact a little bit. There you can see him. So definitely trying to hit him. Here's one from a little bit different of an angle. You can really see how far he goes back. Watch him, he's right here. And he knocks him back a few feet. She thinks she's just going to drive off. Now, would you say that this is self-defense? That this guy was in imminent danger? I don't know how you could see it any other way. He obviously was. She's driving a vehicle into him. Now, maybe he shouldn't have been standing in front of the vehicle. I don't know. That's not that smart of a position to be in, I wouldn't think, when somebody's got a killing machine, and somebody's Looney Tunes crazy to be out here in the first place. But, I wish it wasn't so grainy, but you can see here. But let's take a look at what this woman was really up to this whole time. This is what she was doing. That's her honking. Honking her horn. No fit in there. How many of you would do something like this? There she is, blocking the traffic, honking her horn, being obnoxious, thinking she's really doing something. Oh, more honking. That's really going to do something. She's alerting the illegal. They're here. They're here. Oh, run. Quick. White liberal ladies like to play act that they're the heroes of the brown man, saving them from the meanie law enforcement, heartless. She's just been sitting in the street this whole time, honking her horn. Still sitting there. Look at that. Get a light. Would you ever consider doing that? You would. There, no normal person would ever do any of this crap. They're gonna let a couple of cars through when they come. Being actually happen for everybody. But she has a statement to make. All right? And I don't care if it's inconvenient for all the rest of you. I am going to stand up. Entitlement. Entitled, privileged, thinks that she's free from any consequences of her behavior. So this agent goes around her car. He got her license plate. That's the guy who got hit, I believe. And we've got his body cam footage. Okay, so now the other officers show up. Now here we go. Oh, and that it ends. But this is where they're at. But anyway, the point I'm getting at here is that this didn't happen in a split second. She was sitting, and we don't even know how long she was sitting out there before this video. So she's sitting out there maybe 15 minutes in the middle of the road, honking her horn, being obnoxious, being annoying, being entitled. And the officers go over there. They're going to get the hell out of here. Get out of the street. Oh, but that's too much to ask. That's too much to ask because she shouldn't have to, because she should be able to do whatever she wants to, right? Because she's never had any consequences for her actions ever in her entire life. So she's a spoiled brat who's entitled, who's selfish, who thinks she's selfless. Typical liberal these days. You can't have a conversation with them. Can't be reasonable. They can't just obey in the law like every other normal person. They've got to always be putting on a show, putting on a performance. It's like they don't even live in the real world. They live in this fantasy that they've created in their own head about what the real world should be. And then they act in accordance with it, while the real world has its own rules that they just think they can ignore. This one was from a little different angle. Let's take a look quick. Oh, no, this is the same one. Yeah, showing, yeah. But anyway, this I thought was pretty interesting. So who is this person actually? You know, this innocent martyr for the cause, you know, who was just going to get herself a cup of coffee, and the mean, evil ICE agents just prevented her, and they just gunned her down for absolutely no reason, because they just love killing innocent people, and they love kidnapping people, and they just love being evil people, unlike the left, who are all about love and harmony and peace and joy, and they just get along with everybody, and they're just so nice and kind and all this. Whereas the meanie, bad ICE agents, Republicans, Trump supporters, they're all just like, let's just kill everybody. That's all we want to do is murder. We hate. Hate is our middle name. We're fascists, Nazis. Right. This is how these morons think about things. But anyway, let's see. Let's see what kind of person this Renee Good was.
Hey, just a little tidbit about the left's new hero. Yeah, she only has custody of one of her kids. And the reason she only has custody of one is that her domestic partner, a woman, yeah, she likes to beat the shit out of kids and put cigarettes out on their arm. And she chose that woman over her kids. Yeah, the court was basically like, hold on, if you're going to stay with her, you don't get to keep the kids. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So when people were asking, why was this mother not at home taking care of her children? It's because her children were taken away from her, because her partner likes to beat the shit out of them and use their fucking arms as ashtrays. It's amazing to me that every hero of the left turns out to be an awful human being. Like, that's not surprising, but it's the reality. Because anybody that would believe in the ideology that the left believes, anybody that would take action and try to run over a federal agent, yeah, I could assume that they were an idiotic piece of shit. Yeah. But I have to say that the level of choosing your partner over your children, of staying with someone who likes to beat the shit out of your kids, that's a new level.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful. Yeah. So you being a normal person out there, all right, would you, if you were a single mom or a single dad, you had your kid and you got yourself a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and that person beat your child, put their cigarettes out on your child, you would just be okay with that? And you'd be like, oh yeah, this kid's an inconvenience, so get them out of here. I'm going to stay with this person. What kind of psycho does that? Huh? You would never do that because you're a normal human being. You'd be like, listen, you get the fuck out. You fucking put your cigarettes out on my kid, and you'd beat the piss out of them is what you'd do. And rightly so. But this bitch, she lets her kid get tortured by this partner. And instead of kicking the shit out of the partner, she throws her kid to the wayside. Probably never wanted the kid in the first place. Probably blames somebody for forcing her, and probably wishes she would have gotten an abortion. And that was when she was conservative, so she believed all the wrong things. But now that she's an empowered lesbian liberal, she's just like, fuck that past life. And that was that kid. And that kid, I don't identify with that kid anymore. I bet there's some story like that in here. She was a conservative. She grew up in a conservative home. She forced herself to be good heterosexual, like you're supposed to be, because her parents she grew up in the church or something. And so she got pregnant at a young age, and her culture, her society, her oppressive conservative background forced her to have this child, which she never really wanted anyway. And it forced her into being heterosexual when she knew the whole time she was a lesbian, but she was trying to play according to the social rules. And now that she's free from all that, she can cast off her past life and all those bad decisions. So that child was not even her decision, and she shouldn't have it in the first place. So even if it got down, get rid of it, because now she's living her new life in freedom, right? Probably some stupid ass philosophy like that. That's why these liberal women are fucking crazy. They're crazy. Something has malfunctioned in their brains. And you can even look at the mental health statistics. There are far more mental health issues on the left. Far, far more. These people literally are crazy. And how crazy would you have to be to go and just do all the things that this woman has done? It's so beyond the pale of a normal human being's behavior. Now, it looks normal because we see shit like this all the time online, people doing crazy shit. But if you just put yourself in this as a normal human being, whenever in your life would you ever do any of the things that she's done? When would you ever allow somebody to abuse your child, your partner to abuse your child? Never. When would you ever choose to disobey law enforcement? When would you choose to drive into a law enforcement officer? When would you choose to mock and ridicule law enforcement? Never. You would never do any of these things ever because you're not fucking crazy. Yeah, this is exactly right. I don't see how these clowns get away with blocking ICE in cars and they wonder why shit goes south. Yeah, that's because you're a normal person who has a brain. They think there's no consequences. They don't think that they're ever going to have to answer for they're never going to have consequences for their actions, you know? And there's a secret hope that inside they get injured or they get, they don't want to get fatally shot, but they want to get injured in some way because then that's like a trophy that they get to wear and impress all their friends with. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, well, I was at this ICE rally. I was blocking the thing and they threw me on the ground. I broke my arm. Ah, those bastards. See how much I really care about the cause. I'm willing to put my body on the line. It's like a game. It is. They act like it's a game. It's not a game. This is life or death shit we're talking about here. But it's like they can't comprehend that this isn't just some kind of like play that they're putting on for their high school. You know? This is their mentality. They're not really living life. They're living in this sort of world in which they're putting on characters. And now they're playing the character of activist, the character of resistance fighter. Right? Because these people don't have depth to them. They don't have, they lack that sort of solidness of themselves. And they're looking for something. So they put on this costume, put on that costume, put on this costume, put on that costume. Hopefully I find something that feels like it fits. Man, now I'm a girl. Now I'm a boy. Now I'm a lesbian. Now I'm straight. Now I'm this. Now I'm an activist. Now I'm this. I don't know. And that's why as normal people, we can't identify with these crazy people. Because they're so far out there. They're so lost. And yet that's why they are so adamant and so closed-minded, because they actually are really insecure, not having an identity, not knowing who they are, not having convictions. So they overcompensate by being extremely dogmatic and extremely closed-minded and extremely never really thinking through their views, because they know that they're an inch deep and a mile wide, right? There's no depth to their beliefs. There's no depth to their ideology. There's no depth to what they're doing. She doesn't even know why she's really resisting ICE. It's just like the cool thing to do that these other people are doing, and it helps her feel like she belongs to something. And that's as deep as it goes. No philosophy behind it, no thought behind it, no real bigger, because in 10 years, this is what's going to result. None of that. Nothing. It's just something to do. It's something that my friends are doing. It's something that my group told me I'm supposed to do, and I will be a good person if I do it. And that's it. Total superficiality. And us over here, we're like, gosh, there must really be something to this. If they're really taking this seriously, they're doing. No, there's not. Yeah, exactly. They act like it's a game. Yeah, it's like they think they're playing a video game or something. They don't realize this is real shit. And it gets confusing, I think, for normal people, because we're just like, what is going on here? Who would do that? Who would go and risk their personal safety to block police officers from arresting criminals? How twisted would your belief system have to be to think that that's your calling, that that's the thing you're supposed to be doing? You know what what really needs being done is we really need to go out and stop police from arresting criminals. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good thing, because we don't really want to let people be safe from criminals. Huh? The fuck? What's sad is they can't be honest that the same group they hate, ICE, was used the same way with Obama, and he kicked over 3 million illegals out of the country, and Biden did also till he opened the border. Yeah. Well, they don't like to hear that, but their mind is so fried, and it's so cobbled and disconnected that, like, that doesn't even make sense to them. They're like, they'd just say, no, or something like, it's like, well, that was different. Didn't count. This is Trump. And it's all of a sudden, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And if Hitler's trying to take people out of the country, then that's bad. But yeah, there's no logical connections. There's no stream of philosophical points building off of one another. It's just this is the cool thing to do now. And now she's dead because she got sucked into this shit. I mean, it's too bad. It's sad for sure. It's just crazy. Okay, what's this? The media owes J.D. Vance and all of America a big apology. The Minneapolis ICE shooting is literally Covington 2026. The video clearly shows the ICE officer getting hit by the car. She comes right at him. Doesn't get more conclusive than that. Oh, this is the body cam footage of the officer. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. This is this beautiful, beautiful lady who's the girlfriend. Look at that, babe. Gosh, plaid jacket, sweatpants, and snow boots. I mean, this is just wow. Yeah.
Car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
Yeah.
Listen, former fucking you want to come at us?
You want to come at us?
Go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
Go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Mocking.
Get out of the car. Whoa!
I mean, that's such a ridiculous thing to do. What is the matter with you? I mean, come on. So this is kind of a funny skit from South Park. They, it's pretty clever. Somebody made this AI video. I don't think it's not that person. I can't remember here. Crayon Munching made this one. Hopefully it's covering enough of the screen we can see it. So it kind of at the end of it includes this this at the end.
I figured out how we're going to win the midterms and get rid of a bunch of Democrat voters. I just found out all Democrats are literally retarded. Can you believe this? Their average IQ is under 60. That's really low. What does this mean? It means they'll believe literally anything they hear on MSNBC. They're completely, totally retarded. They voted for Tim Walz, for God's sake. I'm telling you, this will work. Kyle, you gotta hear this one. It's genius. Pure genius. I'm gonna go on MSNBC and totally screw over the Democrats. What the hell are you talking about, fat ass? Listen, Jew, I'm gonna pose as a liberal snowflake who just graduated from the South Park Clearing Center. You know, the place where they teach you how to cry about borders? I'll go on air like, fellow Democrats, I've done the legal research. Attacking ICE agents is totally justified under the Constitution. Rise up! What? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're going to trick people into committing crimes? People could get hurt. How do you sleep at night? Exactly. ICE shoots them or arrests them for felonies. Then they can't vote, Kyle. It's like voter suppression, but funnier. Besides, their whole position is that all crime should be legal. It's not entrapment if they were already going to do it anyways. That's a terrible idea. There's no way that will ever work, and you're an asshole for even thinking of it. Is it a terrible idea, Kyle, or do you just want open borders? Why do you hate America, Kyle? That's not very cool.
This is MSDNC or something, with a breaking update on the Minnesota situation.
Oh my God, the news is on, sweetheart. Tell your boyfriend to come watch.
Breaking news. A little boy from the South Park Leering Center says it's legal to assault ICE agents.
As a student of the South Park Leering Center, I am
Leering
qualified
Center.
to give legal advice. Democrats can absolutely physically attack federal agents.
Are you sure it's legal? That seems really, really, really illegal.
Of course they can. It's like the law or something. I leered that at the Leering Center. Are you a fucking racist
It's
or
like
something? Is
liberal
that it?
logic right here.
No. I'm not racist. Let them do whatever they want. That's totally fine.
That's good. The Jews write your paychecks, and they're totally not racist. Not against any race ever. Keep that in mind.
Wait, we can just do that?
So who here has a car? Anybody have a car?
Oh, I do. I have a car.
Great. Can we have a little chat off to the side? A little powwow?
Powwow? What do you mean, powwow?
You're not even in this episode. Go hang out with Elizabeth Warren or something.
That's fine. We're already citizens.
You know what would be cool? You should get in your car and drive at them. What are they gonna do? You're a white lesbian. Seriously.
Are you sure that's a good idea? They're arresting an illegal immigrant and I don't know what to do. How do we stop this?
Of course it's a good idea, you stupid bitch. Now get in your car, don't listen to any of their directions, and try to run them over.
Stop arresting that criminal. I have a legal degree from the Minnesota Leering Center.
Stop the fucking car. She's coming right for us. Oh my God. She did it. She actually did it. What a retard. I told you guys they're all retards. Yeah.
Oh, it's just the brainwashing. Somebody told me that I should stand up. I should stop at the ICE because they're bad. Okay, I guess I'll like brain dead, stupid. Just obey. And then you can go protest, do your thing, whatever. Too soon? Well, probably. But, we don't want to see more of these things. We don't want to see more of these encounters like this, and it's just like it's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of hand. And these crazy ass liberals need to settle down. I know they're wanting to try to act like they're the saviors of the century or some shit like that, but just it's not working out for you guys. All right? It's not working out. Oh, there's a lot going on in Minnesota. Minnesota has just turned into such a cesspool of dipshittery that it blows my mind. I've never really thought about Minnesota before. Seems like it would just be a bunch of people hanging out, having a good time, being nice to each other, going fishing. But no, it turns out it's a total basket case of loony liberal, crazy people. So here, this is another thing that's happened. This is more recent. Bombshell Minnesota auditor report just dropped, and it confirms Tim Walz's Department of Human Services fabricated records and did not verify grant recipients, tried covering their tracks, enabling massive fraud. It just got 10,000 times worse. Walz must resign. Perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents, sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding. One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they even do. Sounds like a solid plan, right? It's like the more that you look into this, the more it just seems that it was a purposeful scam. Like they weren't just incompetent. They weren't just not paying attention. They weren't just like tricked. They knew what was going on. They liked what was going on. They helped set the the culture for what was going on. They knew this for years and years and years and years and years without any attempt to do anything about it. I hope that this guy, this idiot right here, Walls, I hope he ends up in prison. You know, from vice presidential candidate basically a year ago to now the disgraced loser is one of the greatest downfalls I have seen. I mean, could you imagine the levels of fraud that would have been enabled if this idiot and Kamala had gotten elected? I mean, it would have been the greatest amount of fraud that the world has ever seen over those 4 years. It would have been, they would have just been shoveling the money out the doors by the trillions. Let's see here.
Against fraud. The performance audit shows the Behavioral Health Administration sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding. Lou Raguse has tonight's top story. Lou?
Julie, according to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
Learned it from watching you, Dad.
But I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is, frankly, unacceptable.
Another sobering
You think
report
so?
by the Office of the
Oh,
Legislative
frankly, it's
Auditor, this
unacceptable
one
to,
concerning the
totally
Behavioral Health
fraud and lie
Administration
and
within the
backdate.
Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
Oh, no shit. Of course. Of course. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is so ridiculous. No, it probably wasn't fraud. It was probably just happened that way. Probably didn't intentionally do all this at all. You know, it probably wasn't a whole ring of people who were all in on this together doing it and making it happen. That was just like somebody probably, you know, just this one person probably did this, you know, and it was just because there was just no oversight. Yeah. So it's just like a one-off. No, I mean, this is crazy. It just keeps going and keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I'm convinced now that all this taxpayer funded, you know, drug addiction or childcare, any of these kinds of services, completely unnecessary, completely useless, completely ineffective. Majority of the money gets totally wasted and squandered because how are you supposed to watch over 50,000 NGO groups, which we can't? So we just get rid of all this shit. And sure, people will squeal that kids are going to starve to death or some bullshit. The same thing they say every time you want to cut any program for anything. Just cut it all. We don't need to be giving money to any of this stuff. Reset the system, rebuild the new version of it from the ground up if we need to, where the people in the absolute direst conditions can get what they need so that they don't die. But we don't need any of this kind of stuff. None of this stuff. I've been involved in nonprofits and stuff like that. And it's just a small percentage of the money actually goes to what it's claiming, because there's all kinds of paperwork you have to fill out. You have to have somebody, you have to have legal counsel, you have to have insurance, you have to have consultants who help you walk through the complicated process of deploying the fund. It's just a mess. And so a tiny portion of the money that goes from taxpayers, most of it goes to these other things, and then a tiny portion of it goes to the thing that you actually thought it was going to. But the whole time, the politicians are like, yeah, taking care of those childcare, making sure those single moms can get ahead just like everybody else. But it never works and never happens and never is the result. And so the only thing that it goes for is the people in the middle are the ones who just suck all the money out of it. And it's unnecessary. We could just let the taxpayers have their money, and then they'll help take care of these people locally. That will reduce the fraud exponentially.
To me, that's criminal.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it. And we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
Tipperary DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi's response.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation.
Everybody's shocked. Nobody knew. My ass. No way. Of course, that's what you're going to say. Of course, that's what everybody's going to say. Tim Walz is going to get up there and go, oh, what? Huh? What? Oh, I'm shocked. I would have never thought that. It's just BS. Like all of a sudden, nobody knew that any of this stuff was going on, and everybody's shocked by it. This has been going on for over a decade.
Of the work done to an auditor.
Now, there were a lot of questions from lawmakers about whether this audit should result in criminal investigations. So we'll see what comes from that. The Office of the Legislative Auditor provides recommendations both to the department and to lawmakers in case law changes are needed. Just one more time of what the auditor said regarding this fabrication of documents. She called it a systemic problem within DHS.
I mean, Lou, it just seems like every time you think it can't get worse, it does. I do think this is jaw-dropping. You mentioned that they were talking about criminal investigations. I think I speak for a lot of people watching right now who really want there to be some kind of accountability. Did you get any sense from that meeting today or in talking to any of your sources that there actually will be accountability?
Well, no, that's something that's going to require some follow-up, because one problem the auditors had is they didn't have subpoenas to issue to people that no longer work for the BHA within the DHS. And so they couldn't bring those people in and question them. And so it would take an outside agency such as law enforcement to look into it.
Just unbelievable. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, she's right. Everybody wants there to be consequences. Now, I will give Minnesota kind of some credit. Years back, they did arrest some people. I think maybe last year they arrested some people. So they've got some people arrested and they put some people in prison for a small portion of the fraud that has been going on. So they kind of like, yeah. There's no truer statement has been said. Two words that don't go in the same sentence are left and accountability. That's absolutely right. They do not like accountability. They say that they think accountability is oppression. So what do you do with that? Hold them responsible for their behavior, and then they think that they're the ones who are being oppressed. They're being their rights are being threatened. They're being, and it's like, no, you just you did some stupid shit, so now we're going to put you in prison. But they don't think they have to be accountable for their actions. They're free to do whatever they want, and they're free to oppress you, hold you accountable for all the things that they don't like you doing, but hold them accountable? Nah, not for them. Now we're in the find out phase now. We've moved on into the find out phase, and it's going to be a great thing, hopefully. And hopefully a lot of these people will end up right where they belong, in prison, because they're evil, terrible human beings. I cannot wait. Oh, well, that's really long. I'm not going to play that one. Let's see. I had another. There was another fraud thing. Yeah, did you see this? They had convicted some of these Somalis of Medicaid fraud, and then these judges, after they were convicted by a jury, the judge lets them off. They were convicted by a jury. Isn't that I thought that's how it worked. Okay, well, they're guilty. The judge apparently can just say, oh, well, the jury didn't know what they were talking about. They're morons. And so you're free to go, sir. How messed up is that? I think the guy that they let go, I think he stole $7.2 million. And then the white female judge, white liberal woman, lets the brown guy off, right? Because social justice or some bullshit. And we've got our courts are packed with these kinds of crazy judges that are letting people who defrauded the American people, just letting them go because I want to, basically. There's no reason even given for it. It's crazy. Oh, okay, here's what I was wanting. Here's what the video I was wanting. So this says, Senator Trey Stewart says Democrats began creating kickback schemes during the Barack Obama administration. So, we're talking, like 10, 12 years ago, has continued into the Biden administration and goes on with Democrat governors. He says they're absolutely financially benefiting from getting kickbacks, fraud by design. It wasn't by accident. So let's hear what he has to say.
Two F's come to mind. The first being fraud by design. This wasn't an accident. This didn't just happen. It's a system that's designed by the left for people in their social circle.
Yes.
It starts all the way at the top of the federal government with the Obama administration, promulgated even more by the Biden administration. It runs down to the states, the governors across the country, including Governors Walz and Governor Mills.
Preach.
And even at the local level, you see the bad actors, you read the headlines, you see what's happening right here in Maine, certainly in Minnesota, and I would agree with what's been said so far that this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. The other F is financial Armageddon. That's what we're heading for. If you don't think that the Trump administration is serious about getting a handle on this, you're probably on another planet. This is going to have implications for the state of Maine in the billions with a B of dollars. This will spell financial Armageddon for our state. We have got to get a handle on this problem.
Well said, sir. Well said. Maybe that's what the Democrats want. Maybe they want financial Armageddon. They want to burn the whole thing down so that they can rebuild it in their own image. They don't want to preserve the system. They want to take advantage of it and take as much as they can. And insofar as they can do that, they will, because really the goal isn't to make the current system that's run more efficiently or more honestly or any of that kind of stuff, because the current system is an evil system that oppresses people, that marginalizes people, that does all kinds of negative things to people, that keeps certain people out just because of the way they are, not because they deserve it. And so the whole system is corrupt and the whole system is bad. Therefore, you can steal from it, you can defraud it, you can try to manipulate power as much as possible, because you and only you can destroy this system and rebuild one that's more just, that's more equitable, that's more harmonious, that's a better system where more people will succeed and more people will get what they need. That's what these people think. They think that it's okay. Basically, it's like, is it okay to steal money from a drug dealer? You know, it's like, well, you wouldn't really think that that's all that immoral, right? Because the drug dealer is a bad guy who's breaking the law and doing bad stuff. So if you steal his money, what's the big deal? And that's how these people view the federal, state government, the American culture, our society, the way that we do things, because it's so deeply corroded, and it's so deeply evil because of all of its past sins, because of the way that it discriminates, because of the way that, you know, it's treated certain people of certain categories in the past, that it's just systemically rotten to the core. So if you don't take the money, it's just going to go to perpetuate that system. So why not take it? And why would you even try to be honest within that system? Because then that just means that you're part of the problem, because you're enabling a system of oppression. So there's no philosophical reason not to take from it. There's no moral reason to encourage it, to let it continue, to treat it as if it's something noble, because you're just going to be part of the problem along with everybody else. So I think that's what's behind a lot of this stuff, is the low opinion of American society, the low opinion of America that Democrats have, that the liberals have. They think America is corrupt. They think America is evil. They think America is a negative force for the world. They think America has done heinous things that can never be rectified or can never be paid for based on the current system, because everything, it just goes back to reinforce the oppressor's control of the oppressed and the majority's oppression of the minorities. And so that's the way the system is set up. And so if you have a corrupt system like that, maybe you can weaken it if you take its means of continuing on that oppression, which would mean the money. You take the money, you siphon it to places that are more favorable to you in the future that you see as being the noble future that America could have if it were to throw off these chains of oppression and were to adopt more of a socialist Marxist view of the world, so that we could equalize all people and everybody, and we could then live in a harmonious existence. It's all total bullshit that has been tried and never works, but that's what these people think. And so they don't have really they don't really feel immoral scamming the system, because they think the system is immoral. So in a kind of a weird way, it like makes them moral to steal from it, to take. You know, you're Robin Hood taking from the king who took all of his money from the commoner, right? And you're taking that and you're giving it back to the people. You know, why should you pay the king? He's the evil tyrant, right? I think this is driving a lot of this kind of like crazy behavior and crazy fraud. And it's why it doesn't only happen in Democrat cities, but most of it's happening in Democrat states, Democrat areas, Democrat cities. I was just reading something the other day, I forget where, but it was talking about this similar kind of NGO scam, but it was in Tennessee. And so the red states' hands are not clean in any of this stuff either. So I don't give a shit. I want all of it found out. I want all of them in prison. I want all of the money back. I want all of the programs cut. I want all the corrupt organizations shut down and banished from our society forever. I don't care if it's Republican. I don't care if it's Democrat. I don't care if it's independent. I don't care if it's who it is or what it is. Shut it down, prosecute the criminals, get this stuff under control. Stop forcing us into more and more and more and more debt because of the fraudsters stealing all of our tax money, bankrupting our country. The Somali fraud scandal keeps on dripping. It's not just daycare centers anymore. We're now learning that dozens of Somali transport companies are taking government funds while transporting no one. Well, fucking shocker. More. Okay. Well, we got a whole new level of of fraud now. So now there's apparently Somali transport companies. I'm assuming those are to transport. Okay, I'll keep reading. David Hoke visited 70 of them, and he was stunned to discover that they don't exist. What? And when you add interpreters for doctor's appointments to the mix, the money being sucked out of the system adds up quickly. Interpreters for Somalis. Okay. So not only did the Somalis need rides for some reason to the doctor, they got to have the taxpayers have to pay for transport companies to come and pick up the people, because apparently, what else are you going to do? And so then when they go to the doctor, you have to have an interpreter for the doctor's appointments. Oh my God. These Somalis. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to be the next thing. Snack pack fraud. They've been getting millions of dollars to buy snack packs for the Somali family, for the Somalis that they're transporting. But turns out they never bought any snack packs, but they ended up with $600 million of money to buy snack packs. It's fucking ridiculous.
The Minnesota fraud faucet keeps on dripping, and we're not talking daycares anymore.
When a Somali goes to the doctor, magically, they forgot how to speak English, so they need an interpreter there.
Right.
So the county brings in an interpreter at $100 an hour, minimum 8 hours, to interpret what the doctor is telling the patient. And then remember, the interpreter has to get to the doctor's office or the hospital. How are they getting there? The transportation company, and then they got to get back home. And that patient had to get to the doctor's office. How? Transportation.
Oh, so how much are we paying the interpreters and their drivers?
Almost 900 of them are Somali owned. So in the second video, Nick Shirley and I went to 16 of them. I've actually been to about 70 of them. They don't exist.
They don't exist.
Transportation companies that transport no one. Sounds like something we should be looking into. The Minnesota fraud faucet.
How much more of this shit is there? Why? How are they at the doctor for 8 hours? Why would you need 8 hours of an interpreter to go to the doctor? So not only are they paid, is that healthcare paid for, not only is the transportation paid for, not only is their child care paid for, not only is their food paid for and their housing paid for, and like, what are these people doing here? Get them out. Useless, totally useless. It's just insane. It's like, oh, well, what about the haircuts? They need haircuts. Oh, well, we better subsidize haircuts. Well, what about their shoes? We better have a shoe fund. Yeah, we got to have a Somali shoe fund. Yeah, yeah. Well, what about they should brush their teeth. We should have a toothpaste fund and a toothbrush fund, and they need to clip their toenails. So we need to have a fund that companies that oh, so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I mean, just so stupid. I mean, it's like this is made up. You couldn't even make this stuff up if you tried. I could never make something up like this. This sounds so beyond possible. It's like this. It would be like the stupidest movie you could ever imagine if somebody made this stuff up. But here we are. It's reality. I mean, geez, they need, yeah. They need houses to take showers for the doctor's appointment. They need breakfast for before they get picked up, and then when they get picked up, they need money to buy something at the gas station on the way to the doctor's office, And then when they're done at the doctor's office, they need some ice cream. So they need money to get ice cream after the doctor's office. So while they're going, it's like, come on. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. How in the world did we get here? Everything is upside down. I just think that were we just not paying attention because we had trust in our leaders, and that these people, we know they're politicians and they're kind of corrupt and they kind of do backroom deals and all this kind of stuff. We're kind of okay with it. We had no idea that this is the kind of stuff that they were up to, because we would never even consider doing any of this kind of stuff. And so we just kind of assume that they're like us. They're normal people with normal morals and normal common sense. And they obviously are not, right? And we're finding that out now, that this is not. We sort of dropped the ball. We took our eye off of it. We were hoping that we could just go live our lives, and have our families and our friends and our work and our societies and our communities. And, these people would make sure that we were safe, and that all the things that needed taken care of politically were just taken care of, and that they would be honest, and they would, fight over certain topics, but overall, just not really try to screw us over. And we were wrong. We were wrong. We were not paying attention. We let it get out of hand. And now it's time for us to clean it up. We have to go in here. We have to get these people out of here. We have to be the men in the room, go in and say, okay, you out, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out. All of you are out. This thing's shut down. We got to clean this thing up and turn it into something useful. I agree with this. I mean, these people are so crazy that they make fundamentalist Christians look like philosophers. I mean, they're like the most reasonable people, and they got crazy ideas. But compared to the crazy left, they look like the most sane people. They have gone so far off the deep end. Well, it's not only here. It's also, in Europe, as a lot of you know. So here, this is, I think, an interesting stat. I pay attention to the European stuff every so often. It's according to a 2023 study. This is way back in 2013. Wow, so that was a long time ago. I'm sure it's worse now. 1% of the total population accounted for 63% of all violent crime in Sweden. Well, take a guess what percentage of the population those people are? What kind of, where those people come from, and maybe what religion they are? Any guesses? Bueller? Yeah, it's the Muslims again. Oh, this is a terrible story. 80%. That's the percentage of NGOs and nonprofits in America that identify as left-leaning. 1.8 million NGOs and nonprofits handling $3.7 trillion per year. 1.8 million NGOs and nonprofits. How in the world are we supposed to keep track of 1.8 million NGOs and nonprofits to make sure they're not fucking us over? It's not possible. There's absolutely no possible way for a government to keep track of 1.8 million of these groups. There's no way. Absolutely impossible. They got to go. They got to get shut down. We got to rebuild a different system, and there's no way they should be getting $3.7 trillion per year. They work as these middlemen, and the middleman takes his cut, and his cut's almost all the money. And it's just so politicians can get reelected, so that they can act like they're actually doing something to solve a problem, but they're not ever solving any problems. It's like in California when they spent $24 billion to solve homelessness because the homeless were getting out of control. Well, the $24 billion is gone because shocker, it went through NGOs, $24 billion disappears, and there's more homeless people at the end. The system does not work. That system does not work. Either don't give the money out because it just gets taken, or think of a new system. But this system here has got to stop. It's just a total scam. Oh, this is, okay, this was one of the things I wanted to touch on. Mamdani. All right. This guy. Mayor Mamdani. South Africa is the model for New York. South Africa is the model for New York. South Africa shouldn't be the model for anything. It should be the model maybe for Haiti or something, because Haiti's even more of a shithole than South Africa. But, you know, South Africa's in a slow, steady decline where everything is breaking. Everything is being run down. The institutions are corrupt. The infrastructure, the physical infrastructure is crumbling. The roads are falling apart. The cities are falling apart. They don't work. They don't produce. They are the crime, violence, all of it through the roof. You know, so it's like, what exactly is the South Africa that's nice? Is he's probably merely talking racial stuff. I don't know. But the fact that that New York should look to South Africa as its model is the stupidest shit that I've ever heard. I mean, it's just crazy. He wants AIDS to blow up in New York too. Maybe, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, the stupid shit that he says. You know, it's like, so here's some stats about South Africa. This is what he wants New York to be, apparently. 32% unemployment. Okay, wow, that's a noble goal. 45% youth unemployment. Wow. Such a great model. Why wouldn't you model your city off something like this? 8% of the population pays 90% of the income taxes. Now, I do think that that's probably something that he would find desirable, but what he would find out quickly is that, well, what about the other 92% of the population? How much money can I take from them to do my shit? That's what they would do. That's what they always do. They act like they want the elites to pay for everything, right? But when then it actually comes down to it, everybody gets taxed more. They're just like, oh, we're just going to tax the billionaires, and then everybody else, you know, you'll just keep your money because that would be a good thing. And the billionaires are bad people. And then when they actually get down to it, they're like, well, but what else could we get? What else could we spend money? Oh, we got these other programs. We're like, so sorry, everybody's paying. Highest inequality on earth. Top 0.01%, 3,500 people. This is insane. 3,500 people own 15% of the wealth. Wow, that is crazy. Bottom 50% has negative net worth. Sounds like a lovely place. 330 days of blackouts per year. 330. So only 5 days they've got electricity all day. Taxi mafia burns trains to eliminate competition. Highest rape rate in the world. What a lovely, wonderful place. 1 in 4 men admit to rape. 1 in 3 women will be raped in her lifetime. 67,000 plus child rapes reported every year. Well, Mamdani's a Muslim, so I think that all sounds like exactly how he would like it. He's just like, yeah, you know, I mean, this is just what it is. Allah says that, you know, child rape's not even really a real thing. So it's okay. We need to get more of that going on, you know? I mean, it's just so stupid. Women killed by intimate partner at 5 times the global average. So this is a violent society. violent. 4th highest murder rate on earth. Yeah, this is the model, people. They got it right. This is a solid way to run a society. I mean, life must be so much better there. Half water systems contaminated with sewage. So this is what I'm talking about with their infrastructure. Their infrastructure is shit because they haven't maintained any of it. The last 30 years, it's just been a slow slide into chaos and destruction and broken everything everywhere. Because their leaders are incompetent morons who are corrupt, who don't know what they're doing, who've never done anything, never succeeded at anything, don't know how to run a country. They're just a bunch of hack idiots. And half of their water is lost to leaks. So pipes are broken. They don't want to fix anything. They don't know how to fix anything. They don't care to fix anything. And it just slowly, it's going to just eventually turn back into mud huts. And of course, white genocide. That's what he really likes about South Africa. That's really what he was getting at. That's the thing that he wants more than anything else. If this was a parody, it would be too retarded to be funny. Yeah, exactly. It's just like this shit we were talking about before in Minnesota and all this fraud. It's just like, if it was parody, it would be too out there for anyone to believe. I mean, I wish Mamdani would go live in South Africa. One thing I think that's gonna, he's got these crazy loons that he's putting in. He got his lesbian fire chief who's never been a firefighter. Of course, what could possibly go wrong there, right? But she's a lesbian, so yay for that, I guess. That's so important when you're a fire chief. And then he got this stupid white girl who's tenant czar or something like that, where she's talking about property needs to be communal. He hired for the city attorney he hired as his attorney the attorney who defended Al-Qaeda on 9/11. He was the defense attorney for Al-Qaeda. The lawyer that Mamdani just made city attorney. Is that fucking crazy? They bombed the World Trade Center. They ran into the World Trade Center with planes, a terrorist attack like we've never seen before. This guy defends them, and now he's the city attorney of that's what is going on? Oh, okay. More scandal. I think maybe I'm going to go over this one next. Well, we can take a look at this. Leaked documents expose that senior officials at the leading international body on gender-affirming care knowingly destroyed children's lives. This is disgusting. This is one of the biggest medical scandals of my lifetime, and the legacy media covered it all up.
The WPATH files, which were leaked by Michael Schellenberger and Mia Hughes, which are one of the biggest medical scandals of my lifetime. WPATH is the World Professional Association of Transgender Health. It is the leading international body on what they call gender-affirming care. It is the body of self-proclaimed experts and professionals who advises across the globe medical institutions, including the National Health Service in the UK, and so has incredible disproportionate influence. And they are very supportive of this notion of gender-affirming care. In other words, a vulnerable person, a child, can come and say, I believe I am this, I'm born in the wrong body, and that the initial response must be to affirm that, even to medicalize that, so that this individual's perception of themselves aligns more closely with their body. Now, that in itself is a controversial, unscientific position to take. But what makes matters worse is the leaked memos from WPATH, which were released in the WPATH files, prove that individuals, senior individuals at WPATH and people that were working with them were fully aware that a lot of these vulnerable people could not possibly give informed consent to the treatment that they were receiving. That's very, very dangerous and dodgy. I mean, you have these doctors talking about how, yeah, these kids don't even have biology at high school. They won't understand it. They can't possibly understand the concept of being, of losing the capacity for sexual pleasure in later life or infertility in later life. How can a prepubescent even understand what any of that means?
Right.
So they knew all of this. Those leaked files should have been front page of all the papers for weeks. It's that big a deal. BBC hasn't mentioned it once. I contacted the BBC over 5 times, must be 5 or 6 times, to their press office asking why they are omitting the biggest medical scandal of our lifetimes. And they first ignored my requests, even though I was working for a news network at the time in the UK called GB News. Then when they finally did get back to me, and I think they only got back to me because I managed to find a way to contact someone high up in the press office, and I was saying, this isn't good enough. Like, you're the state broadcaster, you have a responsibility to answer these questions. And I eventually got a one-line response, which was news editors make decisions about the stories of the day, depending on various factors. In other words, go away, we don't want to answer your question. And I gave them some time, even when the White House, there was a big story about the White House because they discovered that Rachel Levine had effectively put pressure onto WPATH to ensure that there was no lower limit to the age of transition, which is a big story. Even the White House talked about this.
Disgusting.
Even after that, even after the Cass review, the BBC just didn't mention it as though it never happened. I contacted them again. I got the same line back as though a robot, an automaton, just written the same message back to me. So there's an example of not just a network, but the state broadcaster omitting a major story for partisan ideological reasons.
These people who do these surgeries on these kids are psychopaths. But this goes right along with kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream with the lady who got shot, the Renee Good, and her giving up her daughter, or her child, even though they were being abused by her partner. She chose the partner over the child because these people, they do not like children. They do not like families. They do not like young kids. They have a deep sickness that feels resentment towards them, that feels envious of them, that sees them as parasitical, that sees them as needy, that sees them as crushing and destroying their lives. They have some kind of deep-seated disgust and anger. So they are always after the kids. They want to sexualize them. They want to cut them. They want to castrate them. They want to let them get burned. Like, what kind of psychopath puts out a cigarette on a child? It's like there's some kind of sickness within these people that's direct, that the children bring out of them and highlight, and that makes them hate children and everything that children represent, innocence and the resentment from their childhood, probably the reminder of the trauma that they went through at that age, that these kids don't deserve to be innocent because I was screwed out of my innocence, therefore I'm going to make you lose yours, and weird shit like that. There's something very, very disturbing and destructive going on with these people. Now, not only that, I think that that's a lot of what's behind the activism and the energy and stuff behind it, but what's really behind the actual surgeries is money. I'm convinced it was all about money. Some of these, just for a top surgery, so removing the breasts, these people would get paid $40,000 just to do that. And then they get $40,000, $150,000 to do bottom surgery, to mutilate these kids. They made a shit ton of money, and it made them look the other way, even if they thought it was wrong. It made them falsify reports. It made them, lie to the public. It made them manipulate the data because they wanted to get these massive paychecks. It was all, you know, they set the price for whatever they wanted. They made a ton, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on this scam of transitioning children. And you know who's always the person who's driving these kinds of crazy ass ideas? It's white liberal women, of course. They're the ones who are behind this same thing. Well, how do you feel, honey? You feel like a boy? Oh, we better, yeah. Because they can't think, right? They can't logic. They can't reason. They're feelings based, and that's all they have. So they make everything on their feeling in the moment. They think that they're thinking logically. I feel like this is logic, is what they'll say. And basically they don't know anything. They're just groupish. They're doing whatever the group is that they fall in line with does. That's why you see these actors who have like 3 transgender kids, even though that's like impossible given the odds. But they force their kids and they brainwash their kids and they manipulate their kids into being trans. So it's social contagion. I think everybody, we've kind of gotten to that point finally. That was a no to say a couple years back. And now it's like, it's pretty obvious it was a social contagion because now you see the rates dropping off now that it's no longer cool and a fad. And now that's no longer really looked on as a sacred cow that you can't talk about anymore. Now we're moving on past all this, which I'm happy about because this is going to save a lot of children from these sick, disgusting freak weirdos.
And I don't know why, but one assumes it's because the LGBT desk said, no, we can't report on this. And every reporter, no matter how good they are, had to defer to the power of veto. And that shows you how ideological capture works. It isn't that everyone working for an organization suddenly is in lockstep over these issues. What it is that a certain contingent who are sufficiently powerful or sufficiently empowered by those in charge, which is what's happened, which is why Tim Davey, the director general, has resigned. It's why the head of news has resigned, ostensibly because of this false editing of a Trump speech. But really, there's a lot more going on here. There is a deep ideological rot at the heart of it. The WPATH.
Yeah. So hopefully a lot of this kind of BS stuff is going away. I think that the mask has been pulled off of a lot of these things. And we've sort of identified the sort of sick twistedness that's really underlying all this. It's not really about the kids. It's not about compassion or kindness or niceness, but there's a sick freak weirdo-ness that's going on here. And so it's a manipulation of the kids. It's terrible, irreversible effects. There've been lie after lie after lie because these people so badly wanted this to be true and for this to be reversible and all that they would just lie about the evidence that shows that it's not. But okay. Well, that was my last video for you guys. I appreciate you joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and you'll get notifications. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate the comments. I've enjoyed that a lot, interacting. So if you guys can share my videos with your friends, if you think anybody would enjoy them so they can get in on the conversation. I'll be streaming a couple days a week. So, all right, everybody, thank you very much. Have a great day.